The next speaker is going to be Zen Honeycutt. Zen is a mother. Her children were sick. She decided she was going to do something about it. She founded Moms Across America. She started studying the food, finding out what was in it, how much, and what was it doing. And she has created a movement that has worked in many ways to improve the quality of foods and the information mothers have so they can take their kids from chronically ill to good health, which, of course, is what Bobby Kennedy is talking about trying to do now. Zen, uh, please educate us.
Welcome, everyone. I'm so glad you could be with us today at the Children's Health Defense attack on food and farmers. I'm going to be doing a food supply expose and what you can do about the food supply. I've titled this talk, Our Food Supply is Being Poisoned by Industrial Ag, just to get straight to the point, and what we can do to create healthy communities. First of all, the state of toxins in our food supply. I'm going to give highlights of test results of toxins in our food supply that have been gathered from primarily Moms Across America, our organization, and other organizations. And just to give you a quick background, Moms Across America is a 501c3 nonprofit, and we are a national coalition of unstoppable moms. And our mission is to educate and empower mothers and others with actions and solutions to create healthy communities. And we have initiated the first glyphosate testing in America back in 2012 and 13, and we are continuing to test. We have been testing for over 13 years. So we will be going over highlighting some of those test results and then also the possible sources of contamination, what you can do to reduce exposure in your family and community, and what we can do on a federal level. Now, historically, we have known the source of our food and the ingredients in our food. Particularly GMOs have only been in our food supply for the last 30 years, and glyphosate has been used for the last 20 years as a drying agent. Some farmers say, oh, it is a necessary tool. And we would like to just point out that it's only been used for the past 20 years as a drying agent. Before that, swathing and other regenerative organic methods were used. Also, essentially, all food was organic less than 3 generations ago. And as you see in this tiny image of a tribal, a gathering around a fire, women were the ones, men were the ones, would be the ones to hunt and would be protect and provide, right? They would provide the food. The women would also provide in some ways, but then through gathering, but the women would be the ones to decide what the food the tribe ate. Whether it was poison or rancid, the women had to know. And if the women did not know what the state of the food was, then the whole tribe could perish. So we're asserting that, we have known for a very long time, and all of a sudden now, just in the past generation, women and other consumers do not know what's in their food, and that's why we have such a problem. So we have lost connection to our local farmers and food sources. We lost the ability to know what's in our food. We are unknowingly poisoning ourselves and our families, and therefore we are in a physical, mental, and reproductive health crisis. So the current U.S. farming situation, and I'm sure many of the other wonderful speakers that you are going to be hearing today and this weekend on this symposium will be going over many of the effects. But what we're just want to highlight is that more than 54%, some pediatricians are saying 70% of our children are chronically ill in America. 2 out of 3 Americans are obese or overweight. Just to add in another stat here, 1 out of 2 men and 1 out of 3 women are expected to get cancer. 3.7 million deaths a year globally are diabetes and high blood sugar related, thanks a lot to processed foods. And global populations are experiencing infertility and are in decline. Some say it's like 33% of young couples are experiencing the inability to conceive. That is a major problem for the future of the human race. And what we're seeing as a result of this this toxic agrochemical system is that food and food products are contaminated with glyphosate. Almost everything tested has been presenting with concerning levels of glyphosate, including beer, wine, chocolate, milk, eggs, honey, bread, breast milk. I know this is terrible. Hummus, sperm, tampons, sanitary pads. The gauze that's used on wounds in hospitals is contaminated with glyphosate, and vaccines. And yes, some people may really be upset about this, as you should be. Glyphosate has been contaminated the vaccine supply because the animal parts that are used in vaccines are consuming, those animals, those livestock are consuming GMOs sprayed with glyphosate, and glyphosate residues stay on the grains, get into the bone marrow, which is used into gelatin. The tendons are used as gelatin in vaccines and to stabilize the vaccine and the live virus. So there are animal parts in vaccines that have the animals have consumed glyphosate right in the feed, and that's how it's contaminated vaccines. This widespread contamination of glyphosate is happening practically in every meal if you're not eating organic, and in some cases, even in organic at very low levels. So this is a national crisis. The highest levels of glyphosate found from 7,800 samples that were tested in 2017 from the Canadian Food Inspection Agency were in buckwheat products, pizza products, chickpea, that means like hummus, and that is, we've also found that in our test results too, flour, oats, mill products, other types of flours, lentil products, and pea products. And this is because glyphosate is used as a drying agent or as a pre-harvest weed killer. This is what's allowed in the United States. It is not allowed in Europe now. They have banned the use of glyphosate as a pre-harvest weed killer or as a drying agent. And so we want to point out that these types of products are the ones that are most likely found in vegan and vegetarian and gluten-free foods. So if you think you are being healthier by eating vegan, vegetarian, or gluten-free foods that are not organic, if you're just like, I'll just order the salad, or I'll just order the vegetables on my pizza, or I'll order the hummus with the pita bread, you are actually consuming the highest levels of glyphosate that you could in any of the standard American diets. And I would assert this is why so many people are feeling better on a carnivore diet, a paleo diet, where they're avoiding these types of grains. It's not just the grains, it's what's been done to the grains, and that is the spraying of glyphosate and other toxic chemicals. We found the second highest level of pesticides in gluten-free foods was 2,4-D, which is found in Agent Orange. So we are finding very high levels of glyphosate and toxic chemicals on foods that are mostly dried, such as oats, peas, beans, legumes, and other types of grains. We also tested 43 school lunch samples to be tested, we tested them from 18 locations. We commissioned them to be tested by Health Research Institute laboratories. And we found that over 95% of the school lunch items contained carcinogenic, endocrine disrupting, and liver disease causing glyphosate. 74% of the samples contained at least one of 29 different harmful pesticides. High levels of veterinary drugs and hormones were found in 9 of the school lunch samples. 4 of them had an aviary contraceptive called nicarbazine. It's also an antiparasitic, but which is commonly used in meat bird chickens. It can't be used in egg-laying birds because it will prevent the birds from laying eggs. Just imagine, folks, what is it doing to our girls and our boys to have an aviary contraceptive in their school lunches on a daily basis? Again, this is a national health crisis. And if someone else was doing this, if a foreign country was putting these types of veterinary drugs, hormones, and toxic chemicals into our school lunches, we would be at war with them. So this is absolutely something that needs to be addressed immediately, and in my opinion, is a criminal behavior that the FDA is not doing something about this in an urgent manner. Okay, 100% of the school lunch samples contained heavy metals, up to over 6,000 times higher than the EPA's maximum levels allowed in drinking water. And of course, heavy metals have been known to cause neurological damage, permanent lifetime neurological damage, and cancer. So again, another urgent crisis. The majority of the samples were abysmally low in nutrients, and I'll talk more about why that is important in a moment. We also tested the top 20 fast food brands, and we not only did this because 85 million Americans eat fast food every day, we did this because fast food brands are the major supplier of food to our school lunches. Isn't that embarrassing? I think we can do better, America, and that's why we tested, and we're going to tell you the truth of what's going on. The results of the top 20 plus one, we also added in and out, because even though they're number 33 in popularity, because we thought they might have better results. And in general, they did, but unfortunately, they had the highest levels of the heavy metal cadmium in their French fries. We also found 40 to 60% of the top 10 fast food brands contain antibiotics, which are not approved for human use. An anti-parasitic, as I mentioned before, the aviary contraceptive was found in a Chick-fil-A sandwich. 100% of the top 20 fast food brands plus one contain glyphosate. 90% contained between 1 and 9 of 27 harmful pesticides. And nobody is doing the scientific experience on the synergistic effects of that. And we found 100% of the samples contain at least trace amounts of lead. The highest amount was found in a Sonic cheeseburger. Butanediol, a central nervous system depressant drug, was found in 47% of the top 10 samples. And the manufacturer data sheet of this drug states that it causes combativeness. Folks, we have no idea, and the farmers have no idea why this is in there. But if this is continued to be allowed, that means that the food manufacturers are okay with people being aggressive after eating fast food. I would say that is an attack on American people. Also, the vitamins and minerals were abysmally low. The reason why the vitamin mineral content is so important is because when we're depleted with nutrients and vitamins, our brains do not function the way they're supposed to. And a study going back to 1948 showed that the spinach contained 158 milligrams of iron. This is just an example of the mineral content. And so now, 50 years later, we would have to eat 75 spinach portions to get the same amount of iron because now it's 2.2. It's so low. We found the same thing in fast food. We found that they contain less than 10% of the recommended value, and that a person would have to eat anywhere between 70 to 300 of each meal to receive the recommended daily intake of essential vitamins and minerals. And this type of lack of nutrition is highlighted in the book Food and Behavior, A Natural Connection by Barbara Reed Stitt. She said that the one thing that all of the parolees, serial killers, and criminals in prison had in common was that they bragged that they lived on junk food. And the result was that they had lower levels of vitamin B, which is essential for the formation and the function of the prefrontal cortex, this part of the brain that is the decision-making part of their brain. And so what was shown that was with supplementation, meaning vitamins and minerals, the violent acts in the prisons dropped 50 to 70% in 1 to 2 weeks. And within 1 year of having whole foods, this was what Barbara Reed Stitt did in her studies, she saw and proved that 70% of the recidivism rate switched 70%. Instead of 70% of people coming into prison, going out, and then coming back in again within a year, that's what the recidivism rate is. 70% came into prison, ate the whole foods for a year, went out and stayed out, did not come back to prison. So folks, we know how to solve the violence problem in America, and we just need the political will to do it. We need someone in office who is willing to prioritize health and to prioritize whole healthy foods, not just for children in schools, but for our prison system, for our hospital system, for every single American, whether they can afford to eat organic or not. Also, in an animal study that was done out of Strasbourg, Germany, you can find all this information on momsacrossamerica.org. It was shown that a cannibalistic mother hamsters that lived in GMO cornfields reversed their behavior, that violent behavior, immediately upon vitamin B3 administration. And guess what we found in our Chick-fil-A sandwiches? That you would have to consume 380 Chick-fil-A sandwiches if you're a man and 333 Chick-fil-A sandwiches as a woman if you wanted to get your recommended B3 per day. So what is that doing to Americans? Can we really expect them to not be aggressive, violent, depressed, and to not be able to learn and function properly in America if they don't have proper vitamins and minerals in their food supply? I would assert that this is priority number one. Also, the highly processed, sugary, GMO, and glyphosate agrotoxic food is nutrient deficient and toxic, as what I just summarized. And so it's not just the toxins in the food, folks, it is the lack of nutrients. So we need safe, non-toxic, nutrient-dense food in an urgent manner. The biggest category of our population that needs to be prioritized, of course, in this situation is our babies. And so Moms Across America, GMO Science, the new MDs, we got together and tested baby formula, and 100% of the baby formula samples contained aluminum and lead. 80% of the samples had lead levels higher than the EPA's allowable levels for drinking water. 57% had arsenic, 55% mercury, and 35% cadmium. These are all either cancer causing or neurological, brain damage, causing brain damage. 6 out of the 20 formulas were positive for all 5 toxic metals in both samples. One of them, Bub's Goat's Milk Baby Formula, the non-organic version, had 41,000 parts per billion of aluminum in it. And we are aghast. We just are baffled at where the cause is coming from. We think, however, it could be connected with the spraying of aluminum for geoengineering that could be being sprayed down on the fields where the goats are grazing. We don't know about that for sure. It could be connected to, we're not sure if aluminum is in fire retardant spray. We have to do some more research on that. And also what is the machinery is being used. However, the organic version of Bub's Goat's Baby Formula did not have 41,000 parts per billion of aluminum. They had 13,000 parts per billion. So that suggests it's not necessarily the packaging or the manufacturing equipment, that does have something to do with the ingredients. And that is the good news is that can be changed. Now, the highest aluminum level detected, that level was 200 times higher than what the EPA allows in drinking water. So very, very concerning. And the levels of mercury in 4 of the samples were above the limit allowed by the FDA in drinking water. And in cadmium, 1 formula levels were nearly twice the level allowed in drinking water. So we would suggest that people we really very strongly suggest that you get in touch with the Leche League and breastfeed for as long as possible. What we also ask you to do is to let your senators and representatives know about the baby formula results, and ask your senators to remove this preemption from the Baby Food Safety Act. And you can see this preemption on our website, on our articles, and you can click on the link to take action there as well. We also tested gluten-free food. You can find out all the results. I have limited time, so please do go through those results on Moms Across America. Tested for glyphosate was the most prevalent, and Bonza chickpea dry pasta had over 2,800 parts per billion of glyphosate. Now, most of it did cook out. We were very happy to see that cook down to 161.5 parts per billion. However, that amount is still concerning. It is still not safe. So we're asking Bonza Pasta to go organic, and we're asking you to sign that petition on momsacrossamerica.org as well. Now, Trader Joe's Almost Everything Bagel had 269 parts per million of gluten, and you're only supposed to have over 20. Not over 20 is allowed by the FDA. So that was 10 times higher than the FDA limits. That is very concerning. Somebody already sued Trader Joe's over that. We just want them to make sure to check and test and make sure that people are not being exposed to gluten, especially people with celiacs, because that's life-threatening. So again, there were levels of glyphosate in gluten-free food that were very concerning, and this is because glyphosate is being used as a drying agent or a pre-harvest weed killer, and that's what we are asking the EPA to stop doing. And we'll show you that petition in a moment. So next, we're going to get to solutions. We would love for you, consumers, retailers, restaurant owners, school food directors, to find access to local foods. Go to westinaprice.org and Farm Match. Connect with local farms to collaborate for job opportunities, to get your produce, your meat and dairy. There's educational opportunities for children. And we invite you to start your school, community, or front or backyard gardens with the neighborhoodfoodnetwork.com. And you can go to that. It's a program of Moms Across America. Growing your own food is one of the most important activities that you can invest in today. We urge you to grow, buy, and eat organic. And we want to point out that it's not necessarily essential for them to be USDA certified organic or to have these other certifications, which we love. But the most important thing is to know your farmer and to know whether or not that you're using GMOs, toxic chemicals, and toxic fertilizers as well. If they are growing their own fertility, they have their own animals on their farm and they're using that fertility, which is not hard to do. They can even fertilize with their own plants. Then you know that it's safe and you can trust them. Food purchasing priorities: buy whole food, not highly processed food. All grain products such as pasta bread, crackers, baked goods, and cereals should be organic to avoid glyphosate and toxins. And buying organic, the food products that contain GMOs like corn, soy, sugar, canola, and vegetable oil is also important. Next, we'd like you to protect farmers and states' rights by requesting that your elected officials protect these rights by eliminating the preemptions in the Farm Bill that restrict and eliminate the state's ability to enact pesticide restrictions. That's called Drop Section 9101 from the Farm Bill. We also ask you to sign our petition to the EPA. That's on momsacrossamerica.org. Tell the EPA to stop allowing glyphosate and other toxins as weed killers on food and feed crops. Support our trip in September. We're going very soon to further trips in DC. Please donate on momsacrossamerica.org for us to continue our work. And tell your senators and your representatives, we're telling them that the viability and the safety of brands, of food brands, is at risk. And so is the health and the future of our country. And we would ask you also then to invest in growing your own food. You can invest in regenerative organic farming training programs, such as I've listed here: Kiss the Ground, Rodale Institute, or Farmers Footprint. Invest in non-toxic weed killer options, such as contact organics, greenfield robotics, and steam or electric weed killers or permaculture. Just FYI, Chipotle has invested in greenfield robotics, which is a robotic system. It's like they're like little boxes that go through the rows and get rid of the weeds. So we're very grateful to Chipotle for doing that. And invest in glyphosate remediation, such as ancient organic bioscience, which remediates glyphosate in the soil. I'm sure Dr. Don Huber is going to be talking more about that. And create consumer awareness for regenerative organic and a thriving future with Moms Across America. If you have any questions, please contact me at zen@momsacrossamerica.org and go to momsacrossamerica.org /data for all of the science that I've mentioned here. And check out my book. It's called Unstoppable: Transforming Sickness and Struggle into Triumph, Empowerment, and a Celebration of Community, to learn more about how you can be our partners in transforming the food supply and health in America and beyond. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Zen, for that excellent talk. Tomorrow, when we go over solutions, we are going to have a website that goes live and tells you about all the bills that exist to try to solve some of the problems that are being discussed on this symposium and in other areas regarding food and farming. And what Zen said, there's two bills that have to do with pesticides. One is the Baby Food Safety Act, which has some good things in it and has some bad things in it. So we will tell you exactly what you want. You will probably want to have changed in that bill, and you can call your representatives and senators and tell them. There is also a bill that has been stuck into the large bill, which is called the Farm Bill, that goes through every 5 or 6 years. And there is an attempt by Bayer, Monsanto, and their lobbyists to prevent lawsuits for injuries, particularly non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, in workers who were heavily exposed to glyphosate. We don't want that portion of the bill, the Bayer get out of jail free card, to go through, and you probably don't either.